You walk into a room, ready to give your all, only to be met with dismissive glances, half-hearted nods, or even outright skepticism. It's a feeling many of us know too well, that sting of being underestimated, overlooked, or undervalued. But what if I told you that the way you handle these moments could transform not just how others see you, but how you see yourself? This is where the ancient wisdom of Stoicism steps in. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most revered Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In other words, the opinions of others don't define you. It's how you respond that truly matters. In this video, we'll explore how Stoic principles like detachment, resilience, and self-mastery can help you rise above the noise of doubt and criticism. You'll learn how to channel your energy inward, focus on your own growth, and navigate these challenges with calm confidence. So, if you've ever felt underestimated, or if you just want to strengthen your mindset for life's inevitable hurdles, this is the guide you've been waiting for. Let's dive in. Why do we care so much about what others think of us? It's a question that has echoed through the ages, and yet it's one we still struggle with today. The Stoics, however, offer a radically different perspective. They believe that the opinions of others are not only outside of our control, but also irrelevant to our true worth. This is the power of detachment, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it simply: what upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things. In other words, it's not what others say or think about us that matters, it's how we choose to respond. The Stoics teach us to focus on what is within our control, our actions, our values, and our character. Everything else, praise, criticism, or underestimation, falls into the category of indifference, things that don't define us unless we let them. Take the story of someone like J.K. Rowling, for example. Before she became one of the most successful authors in history, she faced countless rejections. Publishers told her that her work wouldn't sell, that no one would read a story about a boy wizard. But she didn't let their opinions determine her worth. Instead, she stayed true to her vision, focusing on what she could control: her creativity, her persistence, and her belief in her story. Her ability to detach from others' underestimation allowed her to rise above it. So, what would change if you stopped valuing others' opinions of you? Imagine the freedom of no longer being weighed down by the fear of judgment or the need for approval. What would you pursue if you knew your worth wasn't tied to what others thought? It's a powerful question, and one that invites us to rethink how we measure ourselves. The Stoics remind us that our value comes from within, not from the fleeting opinions of those around us. People underestimate others because of their own limitations. It's a hard truth, but one the Stoics understood deeply. When someone underestimates you, it's rarely about you, it's about them. Their judgments are a mirror of their own biases, fears, and insecurities. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "It is the sign of a weak mind to be swayed by every passing judgment." In other words, expecting others to fully grasp your worth is like expecting a blind person to describe the color of the sky. Their inability to see your value doesn't diminish it, it simply reflects their own limitations. Take the story of Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoic leaders. Before he became emperor, many doubted his ability to lead. They saw him as a quiet, introspective man, more suited to philosophy than power. But Marcus didn't let their underestimation define him. Instead, he remained steadfast in his principles, using their doubt as fuel to grow stronger. His resilience wasn't about proving them wrong, it was about staying true to himself. And in the end, he became one of Rome's greatest leaders, not in spite of their doubts, but because he refused to let them shake his inner peace. This raises an important question. How often do we judge others based on our own insecurities? It's easy to point fingers when someone underestimates us, but Stoicism invites us to look inward. Are we doing the same to others? Are we projecting our own fears and biases onto them? The truth is, everyone is fighting their own battles, and their judgments often say more about their struggles than they do about us. When you face underestimation, remember this: their opinion is not your reality. It's a reflection of their inner world, not a measure of your worth. By understanding this, you free yourself from the need for their approval. Instead of reacting to their judgments, you can respond with calm confidence, knowing that your value isn't determined by their limited perspective. This is the Stoic way: not to fight against their underestimation, but to rise above it, unshaken and unwavering. Imagine being the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, yet still facing relentless criticism and doubt. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most revered Stoic philosophers, ruled during a time of war, plague, and political turmoil. Despite his immense power, he was not immune to judgment or skepticism. Yet he chose to respond not with anger or defensiveness, but with resilience rooted in self-discipline and an unshakable inner strength. His journals, later published as meditations, reveal a man who saw every challenge as an opportunity to grow, every critic as a teacher. Stoicism teaches us that resilience isn't something we're born with, it's something we cultivate. It's about training our minds to endure hardships with grace, to see obstacles not as roadblocks but as stepping stones. This means practicing self-discipline in how we think, how we react, and how we carry ourselves. When someone underestimates us, the Stoic response isn't to lash out or prove them wrong immediately. It's to turn inward, to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to become stronger? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This idea is timeless. Think of a modern athlete like Serena Williams, who faced doubters throughout her career. People questioned her age, her ability to bounce back after setbacks, even her place in the sport. Yet she didn't let those voices define her. Instead, she focused on her discipline, her training, and her mental fortitude. She used every ounce of criticism as fuel to refine her craft and prove her resilience. So, when someone underestimates you, remember this: their words don't define your worth or your potential. Your strength comes from within, from the way you choose to respond. Resilience is built through small, consistent acts of self-discipline, whether that's resisting the urge to retaliate, staying focused on your goals, or simply reminding yourself that you are more than the doubts others project onto you. What challenges have you faced that made you stronger? Think about those moments when you could have given up but chose to keep going. Those are the moments that define your resilience. And the truth is, every time you rise above doubt or criticism, you're not just proving others wrong, you're proving to yourself just how strong you truly are. You cannot be underestimated if you truly know your worth. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, which places immense value on self-awareness. The Stoics believed that understanding oneself, your virtues, your flaws, and your purpose was the foundation of true strength. As Epictetus once said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In other words, clarity about who you are and what you stand for is the first step toward living a life of resilience and dignity. Take, for example, Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most celebrated Stoic leaders. Even as Emperor of Rome, a position that could easily inflate one's ego, Marcus remained deeply introspective. He kept a journal, which we now know as Meditations, where he constantly reflected on his actions, motivations, and character. In the face of doubt and criticism, he didn't seek validation from others. Instead, he turned inward, asking himself whether he was living in alignment with his principles. This practice of self-awareness allowed him to remain steadfast, even when others underestimated his resolve or questioned his decisions. So, how well do you truly know your strengths and weaknesses? It's easy to focus on what others think of us, but the Stoics remind us that the real power lies in understanding ourselves. When you're clear about your values and capabilities, no amount of doubt or criticism from others can shake your confidence. Self-awareness isn't just about recognizing your talents, it's also about acknowledging your limitations. The Stoics taught that this honest self-assessment is the key to growth, allowing you to improve where needed and stand firm in your worth. Think about it. When you know your worth, you stop seeking approval from those who underestimate you. Instead, you focus on living a life aligned with your principles, regardless of external opinions. This is the Stoic Way, a path of quiet confidence built on the unshakable foundation of self-awareness. How often do you let the opinions of others pull you away from what truly matters? It's easy to get caught up in what people think about us, but the Stoics offer a powerful antidote to this distraction: the practice of presence and focus. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our energy is best spent on what we can control: our own thoughts, actions, and intentions, rather than wasting it on things beyond our influence. Think about it this way. Imagine you're at work and someone spreads a rumor about you. It's frustrating, maybe even hurtful, but what happens if you let that gossip consume your attention? You lose focus on your tasks, your goals, and the progress you could be making. Now, picture the alternative. What if, instead of reacting, you chose to stay grounded in the present moment? You acknowledge the noise around you, but you don't let it dictate your actions. You stay committed to your path, your values, and your purpose. That's the Stoic way. This isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending they don't exist. It's about recognizing that the only thing you truly control is how you respond. By staying present, you reclaim your power. You stop giving others the ability to disrupt your peace or derail your progress. So, here's a question to reflect on. What could you achieve if you stopped worrying about what others think of you? What would your life look like if you channeled all that energy into your own growth and goals? The answer might just inspire you to embrace the Stoic practice of presence and focus, one moment at a time. Stoicism teaches that humility is not weakness but strength. It might seem counterintuitive, but true humility is about knowing your worth without needing to prove it to others. When someone underestimates you, humility allows you to remain grounded, unaffected by their opinions. It's a quiet confidence that doesn't seek validation or recognition, and that's where its power lies. Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." In the same way, humility acts as a buffer against the sting of underestimation. It gives you the space to pause, reflect, and respond rather than react. Consider Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoic leaders. As Emperor of Rome, he wielded immense power, yet he never let it inflate his ego. When faced with critics or those who doubted his abilities, he didn't lash out or try to assert dominance. Instead, he led with humility, focusing on his duty and the greater good. His restraint and calm demeanor disarmed critics and earned him respect not through force but through quiet strength. His example shows that humility doesn't mean shrinking yourself. It means rising above pettiness and staying true to your principles. So, how can humility help you rise above others' judgments? Think about it. When you're secure in who you are, you don't need to waste energy defending yourself or seeking approval. Humility frees you from the need to compete with others' opinions. It allows you to focus on your growth, your goals, and your values. Instead of being distracted by what others think, you can channel that energy into becoming the best version of yourself. Humility isn't about diminishing your light. It's about letting it shine without needing to blind anyone in the process. Stoicism teaches us that adversity is not something to fear or avoid. It's a teacher, one of the most profound we'll ever encounter. The Stoics believed that challenges, setbacks, and even the way others perceive us are opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And when someone underestimates you, that's not a moment to feel defeated, it's a moment to rise. Think about it, underestimation can be one of the most powerful catalysts for self-improvement. It strips away the comfort of approval and forces you to rely on your own inner strength. As Epictetus once said, every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. When someone doubts your abilities, they're handing you a chance to prove them wrong, not for their sake, but for yours. It's not about seeking validation, it's about discovering what you're truly capable of. Take the story of J.K. Rowling, for instance. Before she became one of the most successful authors in history, she was a single mother living on welfare, rejected by multiple publishers who didn't believe in her work. But instead of letting their underestimation define her, she used it as fuel. She kept writing, kept submitting, and eventually, Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Her story is a modern example of how underestimation can be transformed into motivation, a reminder that the opinions of others don't determine your worth or your potential. So, what about you? What lessons have you learned from being underestimated? Maybe it's taught you the value of perseverance, or perhaps it's shown you just how much you can achieve when you stop seeking external approval and start trusting yourself. Every time someone doubts you, they're giving you a gift, a chance to grow, to prove, and to rise above. The question isn't whether they're right about you, it's whether you're willing to use their doubt as a stepping stone to something greater. True power lies in mastering your own mind. This is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, and it's especially crucial when dealing with people who underestimate you. The Stoics believed that the only thing truly within our control is our own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. Everything else, what others think, say, or do, is external, and therefore not ours to command. But here's the key: by mastering ourselves, we can navigate these external challenges with clarity and strength. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoic thinkers, put it this way: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. What he's saying is profound. When someone underestimates you, their opinion doesn't define you. It's how you respond to that opinion that shapes your experience. Do you let it rattle you, or do you use it as fuel to prove them wrong? The choice is yours, and that's where self-mastery comes in. Take the example of Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher who lived centuries ago. Born into slavery, he faced countless challenges and underestimations throughout his life. Yet, he didn't let his circumstances dictate his inner world. Instead, he focused on what he could control: his mindset, his values, and his actions. Over time, he became one of the most respected teachers of his era, not by lashing out at those who doubted him, but by mastering his own reactions and rising above their limitations. So, how can you apply this principle in your own life? Start by asking yourself, how do I usually react when someone underestimates me? Do I feel anger, frustration, or self-doubt? These emotions are natural, but they don't have to control you. The Stoic approach is to pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with your values and goals. It's not about suppressing your feelings, it's about understanding them and deciding how to act in a way that serves your higher purpose. Self-mastery isn't about becoming emotionless or indifferent. It's about cultivating the inner strength to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and grace. When you master your mind, you reclaim your power, not just over how others see you, but over how you see yourself. And that, in the end, is the most powerful response of all. Why do we seek validation from those who underestimate us? It's a question that cuts to the heart of so many struggles in life. We often find ourselves craving approval, especially from people who don't see our worth, almost as if their recognition could somehow fill some void within us. But here's the truth the Stoics understood so well. External validation is fleeting, unreliable, and ultimately an illusion. It's like chasing a shadow, always just out of reach. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it simply: what does it matter how much you have? What you do not have amounts to much more. What he's pointing to is the futility of seeking approval from outside ourselves. No amount of validation from others can truly satisfy us if we haven't first found peace within. The moment we tie our sense of worth to what others think, we give away our power. And worse, we make ourselves vulnerable to the opinions of people who may not even have our best interests at heart. Imagine an artist who spent years trying to gain recognition, chasing fame, and seeking applause from critics who dismissed their work. They poured their heart into every piece, hoping for validation, only to feel more empty with each rejection. Then one day they stopped. They stopped creating for others and started creating for themselves. And in that shift, they found something far more valuable than fame: peace. They realized that their worth wasn't tied to the opinions of others, but to their own sense of purpose and joy in the act of creation. That's the Stoic way, focusing not on what others think, but on what you can control: your own actions, values, and inner world. So, what would it feel like to stop seeking validation from others? To let go of the need for approval and instead find confidence in your own worth. It's not easy, but it's freeing. It's about recognizing that the only validation that truly matters comes from within. And when you embrace that, you stop giving power to those who underestimate you. You stop chasing shadows and start walking in your own light. Gratitude shifts your focus from what others think to what you have. It's a powerful tool the Stoics used to maintain perspective, especially when faced with criticism or underestimation. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This simple but profound idea reminds us to appreciate what is within our control, rather than fixating on what others say or believe about us. Gratitude grounds us in the present moment and helps us recognize the value we already possess, independent of external validation. Consider the story of someone like J.K. Rowling, who was repeatedly underestimated before her success. At one point, she was a single mother living on welfare, struggling to make ends meet. Yet, she often speaks about how she found gratitude in the small things: her love for writing, her daughter, and the quiet moments she had to work on her craft. That sense of gratitude kept her focused on what truly mattered, rather than the dismissive opinions of others. It gave her the resilience to keep going, even when the odds seemed stacked against her. So, what are you grateful for that others cannot take away? Is it your creativity, your ability to learn, or maybe the relationships you've built? Gratitude isn't just about acknowledging the good things. It's about realizing that those things are yours, no matter what anyone else thinks. When you focus on what you have, rather than what others think you lack, you reclaim your power and perspective. This Stoic practice doesn't just help you handle underestimation, it transforms how you see yourself and your place in the world. There's a profound strength in silence, a lesson the Stoics understood deeply. Think about Marcus Aurelius, who often retreated into quiet reflection even as the Roman Empire buzzed with noise and chaos. Or Epictetus, who once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." For the Stoics, silence wasn't passive, it was a deliberate choice, a shield against distraction and a tool for clarity. When someone underestimates you, silence can be your most powerful response. It's not about avoiding confrontation. It's about refusing to give your energy to something that doesn't deserve it. Consider this: when you stay silent in the face of doubt or criticism, You deny others the satisfaction of provoking you. You show them that their opinions hold no sway over your sense of self-worth. History gives us countless examples of leaders who mastered this art. Take Mahatma Gandhi, for instance. Faced with endless criticism and underestimation, he often chose silence. His quiet resolve spoke louder than any argument ever could, disarming his critics and inspiring millions. Epictetus put it perfectly: any person capable of angering you becomes your master. When you respond with silence, you reclaim your power. You demonstrate that your value isn't up for debate. So, the next time someone underestimates you, ask yourself this: could silence be your most effective response? Think about moments in your own life when has staying quiet spoken volumes. When has it been more powerful than any words you could have said? Patience is the antidote to frustration. Think about that for a moment. In a world that often feels rushed, where instant gratification is the norm, patience can feel like a forgotten virtue. But in Stoicism, patience isn't just about waiting. It's about maintaining a calm, unshakable mindset even when others underestimate you or try to provoke you. It's about understanding that time and consistent effort are often more powerful than immediate reactions. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This reminds us that challenges, including the sting of being underestimated, are opportunities to grow stronger if we approach them with patience and resilience. Consider the story of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. He ruled during one of the most turbulent periods in Roman history, facing wars, political intrigue, and personal loss. Yet he consistently demonstrated patience and composure, refusing to let external pressures dictate his inner state. When others doubted him or questioned his decisions, he didn't lash out or seek validation. Instead, he turned inward, relying on his Stoic principles to guide him. His patience wasn't passive, it was a deliberate choice to remain steady, to act with wisdom rather than react with haste. So, how can patience help you rise above others' judgments? It starts with recognizing that their opinions don't define you. When someone underestimates you, it's easy to feel the urge to prove them wrong immediately. But patience teaches us to focus on the long game. Instead of reacting impulsively, you can channel your energy into consistent, meaningful action. Over time, your patience becomes a quiet strength, one that allows you to rise above the noise and let your results speak for themselves. The next time you feel underestimated, ask yourself, what would patience look like in this moment? The answer might just be the key to your next step forward. How can you remain calm when others doubt you? It's a question that strikes at the heart of our emotional resilience, and it's exactly where the Stoic concept of equanimity comes into play. Equanimity is about maintaining a steady emotional balance, no matter what's happening around you. Think of it as an inner anchor that keeps you grounded, even when the world feels chaotic or when others underestimate your abilities. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest voices, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he's pointing to here is the idea that our calmness doesn't depend on what others think or say about us. It comes from within, from our ability to control our reactions and stay centered. Take, for example, a modern-day entrepreneur who faced constant criticism when launching a groundbreaking idea. While others dismissed the project as unrealistic, this person chose to focus on their vision rather than the noise around them. By practicing equanimity, they didn't let doubters derail their progress. Instead, they channeled their energy into proving their worth through action, not words. This is the power of emotional balance. It allows you to rise above negativity and stay focused on what truly matters. Now, imagine what it would feel like to face criticism with complete calm. How would it change the way you move through challenges? How might it shift your relationships with those who doubt you? This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing not to let external judgments dictate your inner peace. Equanimity is a skill, one that takes practice, but the rewards are profound. It's not just a shield against underestimation, it's a tool for living with clarity, purpose, and strength. Perspective is the key to overcoming underestimation. When others doubt your abilities or dismiss your potential, it's easy to feel diminished, as though their judgments define your worth. But the Stoics remind us that the power to rise above such moments lies in how we choose to see them. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea shifts the focus from external criticism to internal control. By adopting a higher vantage point, you can see underestimation for what it truly is: a reflection of others' limitations, not your own. Take, for example, the story of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced constant scrutiny and doubt from those around him. Despite the pressure and criticism, he chose to view these challenges as opportunities to strengthen his character. In his personal writings, now known as Meditations, he often reflected on the importance of perspective, reminding himself that the opinions of others were fleeting and ultimately insignificant. By focusing on his own principles and values, he was able to rise above the noise and lead with clarity and purpose. So, how can you shift your perspective to see underestimation as insignificant? Start by asking yourself, does this person's opinion truly define who I am? Chances are the answer is no. When you begin to see criticism or doubt as a mere ripple in the vast ocean of your life, it loses its power to unsettle you. Instead, you can use it as fuel to grow, to prove yourself not to others but to yourself. The Stoic way isn't about ignoring the world's judgment, it's about transcending them by recognizing your own inner strength and worth. When you view underestimation through this lens, it becomes less of an obstacle and more of a stepping stone. Forgiveness, in the Stoic tradition, is not a sign of weakness but an act of profound strength. It's about reclaiming your peace rather than surrendering to resentment. Seneca once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." These words remind us that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's behavior, it's about refusing to let their actions control your emotions. When someone underestimates you, holding on to anger or bitterness only gives them power over your inner state. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is a declaration of independence. It's saying, "Your judgment of me doesn't define my worth, and I won't let it cloud my mind." Think about Nelson Mandela, a man who spent 27 years in prison under a system that sought to diminish his humanity. Yet when he emerged, he chose forgiveness over vengeance. He understood that harboring resentment would only chain him to the past, while forgiveness allowed him to lead a nation toward reconciliation. Mandela's example shows us that forgiving those who underestimate or wrong us isn't about them, it's about freeing ourselves. It's about refusing to let their actions dictate our emotional well-being. So, who in your life do you need to forgive to move forward? Is it a colleague who dismissed your ideas, a friend who underestimated your potential, or even yourself for not living up to your own expectations? Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning. It means choosing to release the weight of resentment so you can walk forward with clarity and strength. By practicing forgiveness, you're not just healing old wounds, you're building a foundation for a more resilient and peaceful future. A clear purpose makes underestimation irrelevant. When you know why you're doing what you're doing, the noise of others' opinions fades into the background. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't waste energy trying to prove themselves to those who doubted them. Instead, they focused on their mission, their why, and let their actions speak louder than any criticism. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "Let every action aim solely at the common good, and let every thought be directed toward the will of the universe." In other words, live with intention. Don't get distracted by the judgments of others. Stay aligned with your purpose, because that's where true strength lies. Think of Seneca, another towering figure in Stoicism. Despite facing relentless criticism and even exile, he never wavered from his purpose: to live virtuously and to serve others through his writings and teachings. He didn't let the doubters derail him. Instead, he used their underestimation as fuel to deepen his commitment to his mission. His purpose wasn't just a shield, it was a compass, guiding him through every challenge and every moment of doubt. So, what's your purpose? What is it that drives you, that gives your life meaning and direction? When you can answer that question with clarity, the opinions of others lose their power over you. Purpose isn't just a lofty idea, it's a practical tool. It reminds you why you started, why you keep going, and why none of the noise around you truly matters. Take a moment to reflect on this. How can your purpose become your shield against the judgments and underestimations of others? When you focus on what truly matters, everything else becomes background noise. How often do you pause to reflect on your own growth? In the hustle of daily life, it's easy to get caught up in external judgments and forget to turn inward. But the Stoics knew the power of self-reflection. It's a practice that keeps us grounded, focused, and resilient, especially when faced with those who underestimate us. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that self-awareness is the foundation of meaningful action. By examining our thoughts and actions daily, we gain clarity about who we are and what we're capable of, no matter what others may think. Take, for example, the story of a young entrepreneur who was repeatedly dismissed by her peers and mentors. They told her she didn't have the experience or the connections to succeed. But instead of letting their doubt define her, she turned to self-reflection. Every evening, she would ask herself, "What did I learn today? Where did I falter? And how can I improve?" This habit helped her identify her strengths, refine her goals, and build the confidence to prove her critics wrong. Over time, she not only launched a successful business but also became a mentor to others who faced similar doubts. Self-reflection isn't just about looking back, it's about using those insights to move forward. When someone underestimates you, it's an opportunity to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger? Reflect on your past experiences of being underestimated. What did they teach you about resilience, patience, or self-belief? By turning these moments into lessons, you transform underestimation into fuel for your journey. So, as you go about your day, take a moment to pause, reflect, and remind yourself of your own potential. After all, the most powerful validation comes from within. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. This is a truth the Stoics understood deeply. They believed that courage wasn't about being fearless, it was about facing fear directly, especially when others doubted or underestimated you. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest voices, once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." These words remind us that bravery isn't reserved for grand, heroic moments. It's found in the quiet determination to keep going, even when the world seems to question your worth. Think about Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. Despite his immense power, he faced constant criticism and doubt from those around him. Yet he didn't let their skepticism shake him. Instead, he leaned into his principles, using courage to remain steadfast in his duties and values. His journals, filled with reflections on resilience, show us that courage isn't about proving others wrong. It's about staying true to yourself, no matter what others say. So, how can you cultivate this kind of courage in your own life? start by recognizing that fear is natural. It's not something to be ashamed of or to avoid. Instead, see it as a signpost pointing you toward what truly matters. When someone underestimates you, it's easy to feel small or defensive, but courage asks you to rise above that. It invites you to focus on your own path, to keep moving forward even when doubt surrounds you. The Stoics teach us that courage grows through action. It's not something you wait for, it's something you practice. Every time you choose to act despite fear, every time you refuse to let someone else's opinion define you, you're building that inner strength. So, the next time you feel underestimated, ask yourself, what would courage look like in this moment? How can I stand firm, not to prove a point, but to honor my own values and purpose? That's the Stoic way: fear acknowledged, courage chosen, and self-respect unshaken. Now, let's talk about the practice of acceptance, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and one of the most powerful tools we have for dealing with people who underestimate us. The Stoics taught that much of life is outside our control, and resisting what we cannot change only leads to frustration and wasted energy. Instead, they urged us to embrace reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic thinkers, put it this way: accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This isn't about passive resignation, it's about active engagement with the world as it exists rather than how we think it should be. When someone underestimates you, it's easy to feel the urge to prove them wrong, to fight back, or to let their opinion define your self-worth. But here's the thing: their judgment is outside your control. You can't force someone to see your value, no matter how hard you try. What you can do is accept that their perspective is theirs alone and focus on what's within your power, your actions, your mindset, and how you choose to respond. Acceptance allows you to move forward without being weighed down by the need for validation. It frees you to focus on your own growth and purpose rather than getting caught up in what others think. Take the example of an entrepreneur who faced repeated failures and constant skepticism from those around them. Instead of letting the doubters derail their vision, they chose to accept the reality of their situation, both the failures and the naysayers. This acceptance didn't mean giving up. It meant acknowledging the challenges without letting them dictate their self-worth. By focusing on what they could control, their effort, their resilience, and their commitment to learning, they eventually built a thriving business. The people who once underestimated them, their opinions no longer mattered because the entrepreneur had found freedom in acceptance. So, here's a question to reflect on. What can you accept today to free yourself from the weight of others' judgments? Is it a situation you've been resisting, a person's opinion you've been holding onto, or even your own internalized doubts? Acceptance isn't about agreeing with what's unfair or dismissing your feelings. It's about reclaiming your power to move forward. When you stop fighting against what you can't control, you open up space to focus on what truly matters: your own path, your own growth, and your own peace of mind. Consistency proves your worth more than words ever could. In a world that often values flashy displays and quick wins, the Stoics remind us that true strength lies in the quiet, steady effort we put into our actions day after day. It's not about seeking applause or proving yourself to others. It's about aligning your behavior with your principles and letting your integrity speak for itself. As Epictetus once said, no great thing is created suddenly any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. As one of Rome's greatest emperors, he didn't achieve his legacy by chasing fleeting recognition or bending to the opinions of those who doubted him. Instead, he focused on the daily practice of virtue, consistently showing up, doing the right thing, and leading with wisdom even when it was difficult. His persistence wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about staying true to his values no matter the circumstances, and in doing so, he left a lasting mark on history. So, how can you use consistency to silence your doubters? Start by shifting your focus from external validation to internal growth. Instead of worrying about what others think, ask yourself, what small, meaningful actions can I take every day to move closer to my goals? Whether it's improving a skill, building a habit, or simply showing up with kindness and resilience, the cumulative effect of your efforts will speak louder than any doubt or criticism. Consistency isn't just a tool for success, it's a quiet rebellion against those who underestimate you, proving that your worth isn't defined by their opinions, but by your unwavering commitment to your path. What are you holding onto that no longer serves you? Think about it for a moment. Is it an expectation, a grudge, or maybe even someone else's opinion of you? Stoicism teaches us that true freedom comes from releasing what we cannot control, and sometimes that means letting go of things we've clung to for far too long. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: you act like mortals in all that you fear and like immortals in all that you desire. In other words, we often hold onto things as if they'll last forever, even when they're weighing us down. But the reality is, much of what we cling to is outside our control, and that's where the practice of letting go begins. Consider this modern example. Imagine someone who spent years trying to meet the expectations of others, whether it was their family, friends, or even social media followers. They constantly worried about being judged, about not being enough. But then they made a conscious decision to let go of those external opinions. They stopped trying to please everyone and focused instead on what they truly valued. The result, a sense of freedom they hadn't felt in years. They weren't held back by the weight of others' expectations anymore. They could finally breathe and live on their own terms. This is the power of letting go. It's not about giving up or being passive, it's about reclaiming your energy and attention for what truly matters. So, here's a question to reflect on. What can you let go of to focus on what's truly important in your life? Is it a fear of failure, a need for approval, or perhaps something else entirely? The act of letting go isn't always easy, but it's often the first step toward living with greater clarity and purpose. And remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Start small. What's one thing you can release today to move closer to the life you want to live? Integrity is the foundation of self-respect. For the Stoics, living in alignment with your values wasn't just a suggestion, it was a necessity. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that moral character isn't about debate or external validation, it's about action. It's about embodying your principles even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Take the example of Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher and statesman. Despite serving in the court of Emperor Nero, a man known for his corruption and cruelty, Seneca consistently upheld his integrity. He didn't compromise his values even when it would have been easier and safer to do so. When Nero demanded unjust actions, Seneca chose to resign rather than betray his principles. His unwavering commitment to integrity didn't shield him from criticism or danger, but it did give him something far more valuable: an unshakable sense of self-respect and peace. So, how can you strengthen your integrity to rise above underestimation? Start by identifying your core values. What matters most to you? What kind of person do you want to be, regardless of what others think? Once you've defined those values, commit to living by them, even when it's difficult. Integrity isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's about showing up as your best self, even when others doubt you or try to diminish your worth. When you live with integrity, you cultivate an inner strength that no amount of external judgment can shake. Think of integrity as your anchor. It keeps you grounded in who you are, even when the world tries to pull you in different directions. When people underestimate you, your integrity becomes your shield. It reminds you that your worth isn't determined by their opinions, but by your actions and your commitment to your principles. So, the next time you face doubt or dismissal, ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my values? If the answer is yes, you've already won. Stoicism teaches us that mindfulness is more than just a modern buzzword. It's a powerful tool for clarity and self-mastery. At its core, mindfulness is about being fully present, fully aware of your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings without being swept away by them. As Epictetus once said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. This is where mindfulness shines. When someone underestimates you, it's easy to get caught up in frustration, self-doubt, or even anger. But mindfulness allows you to pause, observe those feelings without judgment, and choose your response with intention rather than reacting impulsively. Let's take a moment to consider how this works in real life. Imagine a professional, let's call her Sarah, who's constantly overlooked at work. Her ideas are dismissed and her contributions go unnoticed. Instead of letting bitterness take over, Sarah practices mindfulness. She takes a few deep breaths, acknowledges the sting of being underestimated, and reminds herself of her own worth. By staying present, she avoids getting tangled in negative emotions and instead focuses on what she can control: her effort, her attitude, and her next move. Over time, her calm, intentional approach not only earns her respect but also allows her to rise above the noise of others' judgments. So, how can mindfulness help you handle situations where others underestimate you? It starts with grounding yourself in the present moment, recognizing that their opinions don't define your value. When you're mindful, you're not distracted by what others think or say, you're anchored in your own truth. This clarity gives you the space to respond with purpose, whether that means proving them wrong through your actions or simply letting their judgments roll off your back. The key is to stay present, to stay focused, and to remember that your power lies in how you choose to act, not in how others choose to see you. True strength doesn't come from isolation. It comes from surrounding yourself with the right people. The Stoics understood this deeply. While they emphasized self-reliance and inner resilience, they also knew the profound value of community and meaningful relationships. Stoicism isn't about cutting yourself off from others. It's about choosing wisely who you let into your inner circle. As Seneca once said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. This idea is a cornerstone of Stoic wisdom. Relationships should be a source of growth, not just validation or approval from those who don't truly understand or support you. Take, for example, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Born into slavery, he faced immense challenges early in life. Yet, through the guidance and mentorship of his teacher, Musonius Rufus, he not only gained his freedom but also became one of the most influential thinkers of his time. Epictetus didn't rise alone. He thrived because he surrounded himself with people who believed in his potential and pushed him to grow. His story reminds us that even the strongest among us need the right kind of support to flourish. So ask yourself this: who in your life truly supports and uplifts you? Are the people around you helping you become the best version of yourself, or are they draining your energy with negativity or criticism? The Stoics would urge you to evaluate your relationships honestly. Surround yourself with those who challenge you to think deeply, who encourage your growth, and who stand by you not out of obligation but because they genuinely care about your well-being. This isn't about shutting out everyone who disagrees with you. It's about building a circle of people who inspire you to live with virtue and purpose. That's where true strength lies. How can you adapt to overcome underestimation? The answer lies in one of Stoicism's most powerful tools, adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and the opinions of others, especially those who doubt us, are often beyond our control. But what we can control is how we respond. The Stoics teach us to embrace change, not resist it, because adaptability is the key to resilience. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "The universe is change, life is your perception of it." In other words, the world will shift around us, but our ability to adjust our mindset and actions is what determines our success. Let's bring this to life with a modern example. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. Before her success, she was a single mother living on welfare, often dismissed by those around her. Many underestimated her, but instead of letting their judgments define her, she adapted. She used her circumstances, her struggles, her isolation as fuel for her creativity. She didn't wait for permission or approval to pursue her passion. She adapted to her challenges, and in doing so, she not only proved her critics wrong, but also transformed her life and the lives of millions of readers. Adaptability isn't about changing who you are to fit others' expectations. It's about finding new ways to move forward, even when the odds seem stacked against you. It's about seeing obstacles as opportunities to grow, to refine your skills, and to prove to yourself, not just to others, what you're capable of. So, here's a question to reflect on. What changes can you make to rise above others' judgments? Maybe it's shifting your focus to what you can control, or perhaps it's embracing a challenge you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, remember that adaptability is your greatest ally in turning underestimation into your ultimate advantage. Challenges are opportunities in disguise. The Stoics understood this better than most, seeing every obstacle, every underestimation, as a chance to grow stronger and wiser. When someone underestimates you, it's easy to feel slighted or dismissed. But through the lens of Stoicism, this moment becomes a gift, an invitation to prove not just to others but to yourself what you're truly capable of. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." In other words, the very things that seem to hold us back can become the tools we use to propel ourselves forward. Take the story of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced constant underestimation from those around him. Many doubted his ability to lead, questioning his youth and inexperience. But instead of letting their skepticism define him, he used it as fuel. Marcus saw every criticism as a chance to refine his character and strengthen his resolve. He wrote in his personal journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." His ability to find gratitude in the face of adversity not only shaped his reign but left a legacy that still inspires us today. So how can you be grateful for the challenges you face? Start by reframing them. When someone underestimates you, don't see it as a setback. See it as a setup for something greater. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this moment to grow? Gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing the potential for growth even in the most difficult situations. The next time you feel underestimated, remember, it's not a reflection of your worth but an opportunity to rise higher than ever before. When others underestimate us, it's easy to turn their doubt inward and let it fester into self-doubt. But Stoicism teaches us a powerful counterbalance to this, the practice of self-compassion. While Stoics are often associated with discipline and resilience, they also emphasize the importance of treating ourselves with kindness. Seneca once wrote, "Be harsh with your vices but gentle with yourself." This balance is crucial. Harshness toward our flaws can lead to growth, but harshness toward ourselves only breeds inner turmoil. Self-compassion isn't about letting ourselves off the hook. It's about recognizing our humanity and responding to our struggles with understanding rather than judgment. Take the story of an artist who faced constant criticism early in their career. Instead of internalizing the doubt others cast on their work, they chose to focus on their own growth. They didn't dismiss the feedback but refused to let it define their self-worth. By practicing self-compassion, they were able to separate their value as a person from the opinions of others. This didn't mean they ignored their weaknesses, they worked on them tirelessly, but they also gave themselves permission to fail, to learn, and to grow without self-condemnation. Self-compassion is a shield against underestimation. When others doubt us, it's natural to feel hurt or defensive. But if we can meet that moment with kindness toward ourselves, we create space to respond with clarity rather than react with insecurity. It's about acknowledging that we are enough, even when others fail to see it. So here's a question to reflect on. How can you show yourself more compassion when others doubt you? What small act of kindness can you extend to yourself in those moments, not as an excuse, but as a reminder of your inherent worth? This is how we turn underestimation into an opportunity, not just to prove others wrong, but to reaffirm our own strength and resilience. Small wins build the confidence to overcome underestimation. Think about it, every monumental achievement in history began with a single, seemingly insignificant step. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't chase grand gestures or seek validation from others. Instead, they focused on the quiet, consistent effort that accumulates over time. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." He wasn't talking about some dramatic, overnight transformation. He was referring to the daily grind, the small but meaningful choices that shape our character and destiny. Take Epictetus, for example. Born into slavery, he didn't let his circumstances define him. Instead, he focused on what he could control, his own thoughts, actions, and reactions. Each day, he committed himself to learning, reflecting, and practicing virtue. Over time, these small, deliberate steps transformed him into one of the most influential Stoic philosophers in history. His life is a testament to the power of incremental progress. It wasn't about proving himself to others. It was about proving to himself that he could rise above his circumstances, one step at a time. So, what about you? What small wins can you celebrate today? Maybe it's choosing to respond calmly in a frustrating situation. Maybe it's taking 5 minutes to reflect on your day, or making a conscious effort to focus on what you can control. These moments might seem minor, but they're the building blocks of resilience and self-assurance. When you acknowledge and appreciate these small victories, you're not just building confidence, you're laying the foundation for a life rooted in purpose and inner strength. And that's something no one can underestimate. How can you use visualization to overcome underestimation? The Stoics believed that mental preparation was just as important as physical action. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound idea highlights the power of visualization, a practice where you imagine yourself succeeding, handling challenges with grace, and achieving your goals. By picturing yourself in moments of triumph, you build the confidence and resilience needed to face those who doubt you. Take, for example, an athlete preparing for a major competition. Long before stepping onto the field, they visualize every move, every play, and every victory. This mental rehearsal isn't just wishful thinking. It's a deliberate act of preparation that trains the mind to stay focused and unshaken, even in the face of adversity. The same principle applies to overcoming underestimation. When you visualize yourself succeeding, whether it's acing a presentation, nailing a job interview, or standing firm against criticism, you're programming your mind to believe in your capabilities. And belief, as the Stoics understood, is the foundation of action. So, what does success look like for you? Think about the goals you're striving toward, the obstacles you're facing, and the moments where you felt underestimated. How can you visualize yourself rising above those challenges? Picture the scene vividly, the confident tone in your voice, the way you carry yourself, the reactions of those around you. By doing this, you're not just dreaming, you're preparing. And preparation, as the Stoics taught us, is the key to turning underestimation into an opportunity for growth. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the core Stoic principles we've explored: detachment, resilience, and self-mastery. These timeless ideas aren't just philosophical concepts, they're practical tools for navigating the challenges of being underestimated. Detachment teaches us to let go of the need for external validation. Resilience reminds us that setbacks and doubts from others are opportunities to grow stronger. And self-mastery is the foundation of it all, the ability to stay grounded in who we are, regardless of what others think or say. The Stoics understood something profound: the opinions of others are outside our control. But how we respond, how we choose to act, think, and feel is entirely within our power. This is where true freedom lies. It's not about proving others wrong or seeking their approval. It's about living in alignment with your values and focusing on what you can control. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, captured this perfectly when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." So, how can you start applying these principles in your own life? Begin by asking yourself, when you feel underestimated, what's your instinctive reaction? Do you feel the need to prove yourself, or do you take a step back and focus on what truly matters? The Stoic way isn't about ignoring criticism or pretending it doesn't sting. It's about rising above it, using it as fuel to refine your character and strengthen your resolve. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you handle moments when others underestimate you? Share your experiences in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation. If you found value in these ideas, consider subscribing for more insights on living a Stoic life. Remember, the journey to self-mastery is ongoing, and every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, stay grounded, stay resilient, and keep focusing on what truly matters: your own character.